Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Drawing Creation in UniversalPlantViewer with the UniversalPlantViewer Simple Drawing Module. My name is Daniel Dolinsky and I will guide you through this presentation. So that's our agenda for today. What is the Simple Drawing Module? And a live demo where I will show you the usage and the configuration of the Simple Drawing Module. And at the end we will have about 5 to 10 minutes to answer your questions. So the question is, what is the Simple Drawing Module? It's already available in the current version of UniversalPlantViewer. So if you have the version 6.1, it's already in there. And it allows the user to create simple drawings. So I will come back to the simple drawings later on, which can be used within UPV or can be saved as PDF or SVG files. So we will get real vector graphics out of UPV here. The tool is based on the 3D meshes of the model. So that's one reason why we call it simple drawing. We really look at the 3D mesh data in there. So if you have a pipe in a triangular or hexagonal shape, it will be a hexagonal shape on the drawing. So we don't really draw cylinders. We draw what is on the 3D model in a drawing style. What we can do here is, because we use the 3D mesh, we can even have general arrangement drawings of large plants within a reasonable time. So you can create simple drawings of large areas of your plant that you couldn't do before. And one thing I have to tell you, you would need a license to save the drawings. So any viewer can open the drawings, but there is an extra license file in order to save them to your hard drive. Now back to the simple drawings here. I like this comparison here. The drawing style is comparable to the assembly instructions of a well-known Swedish furniture store. I think that's it really. So it's nothing you would give to the workshop to create objects on, but we guess it's the perfect drawing style if you want to create a little drawing, for example, on site, to explain what needs to be modified or what items have to be handled. Now we can go directly to the live demo. So you should already know a UniversalPlantViewer. And let me just show you one of the drawings first here. So that's the drawing style we are talking about. So that's a little hanger here. And we can create these kind of files. So how to do this? We can create them based on selected items. So I could select them from this tree structure here, or directly click on them, or from a drawing volume. So I choose the volume for this first drawing here. So I select this tank and the slab. And then I can go to the volume clipping. And I add some extra space here. So perhaps 30 centimeters on top. So you see we get this extra space here around the clipping volume. And then I can go to this drop-down menu and select drawing. And here I have a list of drawing styles. We'll come back to these template files later. And here I can pick, for example, the standard views on the A3 wide format, metric units, and English labels. And I have to click OK and wait for a couple of seconds to get the drawing. So it's rendering this as lines on the document, and that's the result here. And then I can just go to the tree view and save this to the hard drive. So let's call it drawing1.pdf. And I have three options here. I can either save this as SVG, so that's a vector format that can be used, for example, in Inkscape. I can save it as PDF, so that's probably the standard way you would save this to the hard drive. And I can also use a PDF file format that is optimized for the AutoCAD import. And we recommend to use AutoCAD or AutoCAD LT to do all the conversions. So if you want to have a DGN or a DWG file at the end, we recommend to do this via AutoCAD. So let's just save this as a PDF drawing directly to the desktop. And here we go. So we have the drawing 1 PDF here. And it's a real vector file, so I can use the standard functionality in the free version of Adobe Acrobat Reader. So it's Acrobat Reader DC. And if you look at the menu here, we have this option More Tools at the bottom. And in here we have, for example, a measure feature. So I can use the measuring tool, and I have to set the scale ratio. So here we have a scale of 1 to 100. So that would be 10 centimeters, for example, would be 1 millimeter. And I click OK. And now I can snap to the points and the lines. So I click it like this. And I can do my measurements in here. And of course, you have all the commenting functionality available. And then you can just save this again and print it out, send it by email. And that's just about 200 kilobytes. So we have very small file sizes here. Now let's zoom in a little bit to have a look at the quality, because as I said, it's a simple drawing. As you can see, we get lines in here. But for example, here, it's not a real circle for this flange. What we got is octagon. So don't give it to the workshop, but we think it's really fast and good enough to easily get one of these drawings out of UPV to explain to people on site, for example, what needs to be modified, built in, and so on. And you can do these measurements in here. So I think that's quite handy, and it's a free tool to measure this in the Acrobat Reader DC. So we really recommend to use it. Now let's get back to UniversalPlantViewer. I go back to the 3D model and I switch off the volume clipping. And now let's select, for example, this item here. And then I select this pipeline. So you see I have all these objects selected. And again, I can go to the drawing creation. So now it's not based on the volume, it's based on the selected objects. And we could, for example, create an isometric view of the selected items. So it's now creating the rendering. And here we go. Basically, that's the workflow. We have another option here where you can create it including the colors. So for example, you see we have a slab there, and it's perhaps just pick a few random objects. So we have yellow, orange, and red. And again, I can create a drawing based on these items. So I go to the drawing creation and I select use colors in here. And again, perhaps the isometric view, draw selected objects only, and OK. As I said at the beginning, it's simple. It's not only simple regarding the quality, so it's not something you would give to the workshop, but it's also simple and really easy regarding the usage. So I think you can explain this to anybody on site, how to create these kind of drawings. And it's also quite fast. So here we get this drawing for these items, including the colors. Now that's the usage. And now let's have a look at the configuration and the setup. So that's our usual Universal Plant Viewer folder, including the data folder. And if we go to the data folder, there is now a folder called Drawingtemplates. And in here we have two types of files. There is a JSON file, and we have these border files. So that's a SVG file, and you can open up and edit this file in Inkscape. So it's this file here. So this means if you have, for example, a drawing border already, and I guess you'll have, you can use Inkscape to import this and draw this so that it looks like the original border. So I would really recommend to use the Inkscape functionality in here. If you know the graphical quality of the fonts in the DGN files, it would, in my opinion, make really sense to replace this by decent text in Inkscape. And so you would just create this drawing border with your company logo and so on. And we have these placeholders for the drawing name and for the scale, and that gets replaced by UPV as soon as the drawing is generated. So it takes this drawing border, draws the drawing on top of it, and replaces here, for example, the scale and the drawing name. Now, how can we define the areas where we want to draw something here? So that's done in this JSON file called drawingtemplates.json. I will edit this simply with Notepad. So let's just scroll down. You probably remember the drawing we had at the beginning here with the standard views. So that's the name in the drop-down list in UPV. That's the path and the file name of the border file. So that's the file we've actually looked at in Inkscape just a couple of seconds ago. And here we have defined some drawing areas. So it's 1, 2, 3 drawing areas. Here we've got the view direction, so there's a code list for this, if it's a top view, front view, isometric view, and so on. Here we've got a fixed print scale of 1 to 100. We can also have a print scale that is generated automatically. So if you set the print scale to 0, it would pick a scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 20, 1 to 50, and so on. So it would pick the scale that's fitting for these objects. And you can also use this use common scale true. So here all the scales are linked. So let's assume you would need a different scale for the isometric view, and you have 4 linked views directly on the drawing. It would pick the scale that fits them all at the end. So that's the setting. And you can also have fit set to true. Then it's picking the scale that really fills in the view into this box. So you would probably end up with a scale like 33.6 or whatever. So that's the fit option in here. So really simple. I think for admins, it's no issue or no problem to modify this file, save it here. And so you can have your drawing borders and the views you like on your drawings. And as soon as you save the file, it's available here. So this goes directly to this drop-down box. So when we go to the 3D model and create the drawing, we have the list here, and that list is generated out of this little JSON file.